Sometimes the best quilting tools really aren't sold in the quilt shop at all. Hi everyone, it's Mary from Joyful and Mary Quilting, and today we are going to have some fun. I gathered up 10 of my favorite tools, and I say tools. They might make you say, wait, what? That's a quilting tool? But trust me, they work, and I use them all the time in my sewing room. I'm going to tell you what the tool is, why some of you may think they're kind of weird, and then why it really works. So here goes. Number one, that purple thang, T-H-A-N-G, thang. Why is it weird? Well, first of all, the name, that purple thang. It doesn't exactly sound like a high-tech quilting gadget. And really, it looks like a little piece of plastic that could be in a kid's toy bin, but I'll tell you why it works. I use the end to push out the corners, like when I'm turning something, I can push out the corners. I can also use that end like a stiletto as a guide when I'm sewing. I can keep it on the side of my fabric so that I can get it under the needle without getting my fingers too close to the needle. I can even use it to thread elastic. This is really bizarre. There's a line in here, an opening that you can tie your elastic and then poke it through, or ribbon or whatever, if you're trying to thread something through a channel. This also has this flat end, which works in corners. I can also poke out the corners using the flat end, and I can use this flat end to smooth out my seams, kind of like finger pressing, only it gives me just a little bit of an extra push when I'm using it. It really is good, but you know what's funny? It's not purple anymore. I have that purple thang, and then I have a blue that purple thang, and actually they come in all sorts of colors, and they are really inexpensive. In fact, for 5 of these, they come in one pack, $5.39. So just a little over $1 a piece. Really worth it, very versatile. Number 2, blue painter's tape. Why is it weird? You will find this in the hardware store, not in the quilt shop. Most people think it's just for protecting the walls or the corners when you are painting. It keeps your paint from getting where you don't want it to go. But I'll tell you, this is why it works with quilting. Quilters know it is amazing for marking straight sewing lines without drawing on your fabric. All you have to do is open up the tape, place it where you want it, and then sew when you're quilting right along the edge of the tape. It's 1 inch wide, so you really even can sew on both sides if you want to have a 1 inch quilting space on your quilt. It's just perfect. In addition, not just for marking your quilting lines, but I also layer about 5 layers of tape, and then I trim it to about 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/2 of an inch wide. I use it as a seam guide on my sewing machine. I just put it right on the bed, I line it up, I test it out, and it works great to keep my fabric pieces from veering off of the straight and narrow when I'm trying to sew an accurate 1/4 inch seam. If you want to learn more about that, go to my How to Create the Perfect Quilt Block Every Time workshop. The link is listed here. In addition, this peels off cleanly. It doesn't leave any residue, and it's super inexpensive. For 8 rolls of this tape, it runs about $1.50 a roll. It's really economical, and it's a great quilting tool. Now, along with this, I'm going to just throw in something else. These command strips can also be bought at the hardware store, and they are high enough that you can also use these. You don't have to layer the tape. A little more expensive, but not much, but you can place those and use them as your 1/4 inch guide on your sewing machine as well. So another thing to check out, and they are also easily removable. Number 3, dotting pens. What in the world is a dotting pen? Well, this is why it's weird. These are actually made for nail art. You dip the end in your nail polish, and then you make dots or designs or whatever on your nails. They're for nail art. They're just little tiny ball tips on the end of this handle, and you can use either end. Now you can see the one on this end is a little bit bigger than the one on this end. Why does this work? For quilters, we have found a whole new use for this dotting pen. This nice metal round tip is perfect for gently pushing out seams and corners, especially if you're sewing something together and you want to make sure that you've got a nice curve. All you do is just put this right underneath, and it just gives you the most smooth, perfect curve, pushes it out, but it's not dangerous because it won't poke a hole through the fabric unless you really push it, because it's not sharp. So a sharp tool, scissors, even a pencil could poke through your fabric, but the dotting tool will not. In addition, they're super inexpensive. In fact, $3.99 for 5 of these. So they really don't cost much, and they last forever. They work really well. Number 4, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. You can get the brand name or there are generics available as well. So why is this weird when it comes to quilting? Well, this one comes straight out of the cleaning aisle. I know you've probably seen it, especially if you've ever scrubbed a crayon mark off your wall. Most people use it for scrubbing walls, scrubbing countertops, and it works really well. This is what it looks like, but why does it work for quilters? Well, I'm going to show you. It's amazing for removing Sharpie marks from your ruler. Now you're thinking, why in the world would I mark my ruler with a Sharpie? A Sharpie pen is pretty permanent. If you write on plastic with a Sharpie marker, chances are it's going to be really tough to get it off. But that's where this works well. And you can see I've got some lines on here because sometimes when I'm using my ruler, and let's say I take my Sharpie because I want to trace around a template or trace a straight line, open up my marker, and I get some of the marker on the side of the ruler. It just can't be helped because the marker has, a side to its tip. So as I'm marking, I'm not only marking my paper or my fabric, but I am also marking my ruler. So you can see, even with this ruler, I've got a mark on here that I did a long time ago. It's there, but I'm going to take it off. And all you do is you take your magic eraser and you just do this. And you can see it's coming right off. I have completely cleaned off that black mark from my ruler easily. Now, the other thing that I do, there are times when I am marking fabric, and maybe it's kind of an odd marking, maybe an 1/8 of an inch, 3 1/8 inches or whatever, and I want to make sure that I hit it just right. So what you can do is you can take your Sharpie and you can make it, I'm just going to pick a spot here, and you can make a mark on your ruler and use that marking. I did it on the 2 1/4 inch. You can use that marking to line up your fabric, but then it's like, I don't want that on my ruler forever. Just take the magic eraser and look at how easy that came off. Now, some people will say, oh, you can use nail polish remover. You can, but you have to be really careful when you do that because it can cloud your ruler, but this does not. These last forever, and they are really cheap anyway. In fact, for 18 of these, generic brand, about 83 cents a piece, and for 10 of these in a box, about $1.28 a piece if you get the brand name. But I don't really notice any difference in the two. You can buy them at the dollar store or anywhere, and it's really great to clean up your rulers, and it gives you a lot more life when it comes to what your ruler can do for you. I also use it for cleaning up a gummed up needle after sewing something with an adhesive back like Velcro or maybe some fusible webbing. All you have to do is just take your needle and poke it in and out, in and out, in and out of the magic eraser, and it cleans it up instantly. It works really well. Your needle is like new again, and you don't need any fancy cleaning products to get that off of it. Number 5, glue stick tip. So, what is a glue stick tip? This is what it is. And why is this weird? Well, this little attachment looks like it should be in a kid's art kit, but what it does is it actually just snaps onto the top of a regular glue stick. Why would we need that? Why do we need glue when we are quilting? We use glue a lot when we're quilting. So here's why it works. The fine tip, you can see this little hole, actually delivers a very small amount of glue as compared to the large tip of your washable glue stick. What it does when you snap this on and then you wind it up, the glue basically focuses right to the end, and you've got a little tiny glue line rather than this large one. It's perfect for English paper piecing, it's perfect for snowballing blocks, or even for binding. It's neat, it's tidy, and it's so much easier than fighting with big globs of glue. In addition, these glue sticks are a lot cheaper than what you would buy when they're actually meant as a quilting tool. So you can save some money with this, purchase the glue stick tip, put it on, and you are good to go. As for price, you can buy 4 glue sticks of the washable Elmer's glue for $6.50. That's about $1.50, little over $1.50 a piece. Of course, when it's back to school season, that's when I buy mine. You can get them at a really good deal. About $12 for the tip. The tip lasts forever, and you can move it from glue stick to glue stick as needed. Really worth it when it comes to saving a couple of dollars and being able to use your glue stick precisely and accurately when you're quilting. Number 6, a silicone makeup tray. Why is this weird? Well, first of all, this one comes from the beauty aisle. It's actually a silicone makeup brush holder. You just put all your makeup brushes in here and that holds them up. You can grab them. But you can also organize your quilting tools, and I'm going to show you how. This is why it works. I have this sitting on my table, and I also have a mug where I have a lot of my tools as well. But what I like about this is it keeps those tools really organized and easy for me to reach. The silicone grips them securely, so nothing slides around or folds up or falls out. It stays visible, it's right at my fingertips, and it's just super handy when I'm sewing. And you can see I've got pens and scissors, nippers, pencils, my purple thing, which is blue, marker, tracing wheel, marking pencil, my glue stick, everything's here and I know where it is. You can fit a lot in these. I love it. When it comes to price, you buy them 4 at a time for the most part. They come in all colors. They're really pretty. They're about $4.75 to $5 a piece. So they're really not expensive and they work really well for a quilter. Number 7, plastic baskets. So why is it weird? These little baskets are found in the dollar store, in the kitchen section, or maybe at Walmart or Target or wherever you do your shopping. And they're meant usually for holding snacks, maybe office supplies, or just odds and ends. But it really is a great quilting tool, and I'll show you why. First of all, when I have a quilting project, I love to have all of my pieces in one place. So I usually have a project bin for the project that I'm working on. And then I like to have my pieces all sorted as well. And it just doesn't work if I sit them next to each other. They start to get messy. So what I like to do is, I'll show you the one that I'm working on here. This is our picnic quilt, our outdoor oasis quilt. I have my pattern that's in the box, and then you can see I've got all my bins. I have a long one for the long pieces. I have the square ones for my cut triangles, my rectangles, and then as I'm finishing my pieces, I have some that are pressed in one direction and some that are pressed in the other. I have those labeled and separated out. I have also some little teeny tiny squares that I'm using, and so I found this little teeny tiny Glad container in the grocery store, and I just put those pieces that are really small, these are 1.5 inch squares, so that they don't get lost or get mixed up. This is my whole quilt. Now, when it comes to price, for this size, they usually come like 3 together or 6 together, something like that. They run about 30, 40 cents a piece. For these, same thing, about 30 or 40 cents a piece. And then, of course, the larger ones are a little bit more, but still very inexpensive. So I have stacks of these, and I use them for all sorts of things. I also use them in my drawer for sorting items as well. Great tool, inexpensive, and something you might not necessarily think of when it comes to sorting your block pieces. Number 8, professional foam cleaning swabs or sticks or makeup brushes, but I use these little tiny swabs. Why is this weird? Because these come from either an electronic cleaning kit or the beauty aisle. They're not really what you would call quilting supplies. But why does it work? They are perfect for cleaning the sewing machine. They've got this little tip on there that grabs the lint easily as you just swab it around inside of your machine. They keep your machine in top shape, extend its life by helping you get all those lint pieces out of those little nooks and crannies where they can hide that even a tweezer can't get out. So I love these. They come in packages of like 200 and 500. They run about $5.99 for 200 of these, and I keep them in all my sewing machines so that when I need to use them, I've got these to use. Great product, great quilting item. Number 9, silicone finger guards or grips. Okay, these come 12 tips in one box. And the way that I became acquainted with these was I was working on a hand project, a hand sewing project, and I always use a thimble on my finger. So I like this one. It's just my favorite. I've used it for years. I also have a metal one that I use as well, and I've used that for years. But I need something for my hand that's underneath, and I found that this just didn't work well. I couldn't feel when the needle was coming through. I couldn't feel if I actually pushed it upright. And one of our followers suggested these little finger cots. So I got some. It works great. I'll tell you, this is why it works. They make the perfect thimble because you can feel where the needle is, but it's thick enough that it doesn't go all the way through and poke you. As it gets older, they don't last forever. You have to replace it because they do eventually get a hole in them, but they work for a long time, and I have used this. They are durable. You just push the pin right through as it's coming through your fabric. Your finger is completely protected, but it still feels really natural, and that was what was important. This just didn't feel natural to me on my non-dominant hand. On this hand, yes, my right hand, as I was going through and I was hand piecing and quilting, and I would poke the needle through with my thimble, it worked well, but underneath, it just didn't, and these work like a charm. So you just go to the office supply store, less than $5, really cheap. You get 12 of them, they last a long time, and really worth it when it comes to protecting your fingers if you're doing handwork. Number 10. The pressing marker. If you've watched any of my videos, I talk about these all the time. Why is this weird? Well, it looks like a flat marking pen, as you can see, but there's no ink inside of it. It's empty. They come empty, and what you do is you fill them up with your pressing solution, or you can fill them up with water, or you can fill them up with flatter, or whatever it is that you are using when you are pressing your fabric pieces. Why does it work? Well, you fill up, as I said, with your favorite pressing solution, and this becomes a perfect tool for creating flat seams. You just take this and swipe it right along the seam line, and then when you press, your seams are going to look so professional and so polished. There's also a video that I've done that really walks you through the whole process. If you've never used one, you will want to try it. This is an essential tool that I have. It's a simple idea, but it really makes a difference. They come in several sizes. I have used the 1/4-inch size or the 6mm. I've used the 10mm. I've used the 15. I love all of them. They're very inexpensive. They run about $1.70 a piece. Again, they don't last forever, but you can get new tips. These little nibs are replaceable. I like to label them just with my Sharpie marker. I put what's in the tube. This one has water in it. I have some that have Mary Ellen's Best Press in it, some that have Terriel Magic 50/50 diluted with water. It just depends on what it is, but you forget what's in there. So having a label on there really does help. And here's my bonus item, and I love this one. This is one of my favorites. Cookie cutters. Now, why is this weird? Because these usually live in the kitchen drawer for baking sugar cookies for a holiday, Christmas, Valentine's Day, whatever. You usually cut your dough, and that's all we think they're used for. But you know what? They are great templates for applique. Why? You can take a heart, a star, a circle, you name it. Here's an egg. They're sturdy, they're easy to trace around, and they're way cheaper than buying many quilting templates. Or they're more accurate or smooth than if you're drawing them yourself, so they go either way. Sometimes the best template is already sitting in your kitchen, and I love these. I have all different ones, and I've used them for a variety of projects. Applique is what they work best for, and I love them. So there you have it. 10 of my favorite tools, plus a fun little bonus that might seem kind of odd, but they've earned a permanent spot in my quilting room. Sometimes the best quilting tools really aren't sold in the quilt shop at all. They come from the hardware aisle, the beauty section, the kitchen, or even the holiday baking bin. So if you've got a weird tool that you swear by, please drop it in the comments so that we can all hear about your favorites too. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and then share it with a quilting friend. And remember, I am always trying to be joyful, but I will always be merry. Thanks so much for joining me.